you join me at Glastonbury Abbey, famous the world over. What a lot of you may not know is it's rumoured, or it is said, that this behind me here is the grave, so we're told, of King Arthur. Now I'm going to tell you the story of how that came about, and then you can decide if you think it is or not. Let's get into it.
So, are we looking at the grave of King Arthur, or are we witness to possibly the biggest hoax in medieval England? Indeed, a hoax so large that even Edward I, or the Hammer of the Scots, was involved. So, we need to start at the beginning. According to legend, Joseph of Arimathea landed his boat here. He is also the guy that brought the Holy Grail and planted his staff in the ground, which then magically turned into the Holy Thorn, which flowers at Christmas. Now, whether you believe any of that or not, the fact remains that Glastonbury Abbey was a very important centre of the very early Christian church. Having been founded in the 7th century and enlarged in the 10th, the abbey was already around 400 years old when, in 1184, a careless monk and a candle resulted in a large fire that destroyed the place. Work to rebuild started almost immediately, and by 1186, the Lady Chapel was consecrated. During this period, pilgrimage was a huge business, and the abbeys and cathedrals vied with each other as to who had the most holy relic with which to attract the visitors. Some would claim the toe bone of some saint or other, and people would crowd in bringing money to spend. So, put yourself in the position of a monk back in those days. You have an abbey that is burnt to the ground, no pilgrims are visiting the ruins, income is down, there is a huge abbey to build, and a lot of the monks believe that Glastonbury is actually the site of the Isle of Avalon. So that's the background. Then the abbot of the time, one Henry de Sully, just happened to commission a search for King Arthur in the graveyard in the abbey grounds. And guess what? At a depth of 16 feet and between two stone pyramids, they found a large hollowed out oak trunk containing two skeletons. The story goes that under the covering stone was a cross made of lead with a Latin inscription on it. Now, this was very convenient as the abbey had more Latin speakers than you could throw a stick at, and soon they had translated it and were rubbing their hands with glee and anticipation. It read, Hic jacet sepultus inclitus rex arterius in insula Avalonia. Now, my pet monk tells me this translates to, here lies interred the famous King Arthur on the Isle of Avalon. Well, well, well. Now that was handy, wasn't it? Not only does that give the abbey the mother of all pilgrim attractions, if you believe the cross, then it proves Glastonbury is also the Isle of Avalon. Game, set and match. So next, they had to make it authentic, because everybody believed a claim made by the church, right? So, in the choir, and second only in placement to the high altar, as you can clearly see here, they had an enormous tomb built. They then got Edward I, the aforementioned Hammer of the Scots and all-round grumpy guy, and his missus, the Queen Eleanor, to pop by for the medieval equivalent of a photo opportunity, followed by far too much booze and food. And that did it. Over the following years and centuries, visitor numbers rocketed, and the enormous abbey you see in front of you in ruins was completed. Now, when you're considering the truth of this story, think on this. After the fire, a bunch of monks are struggling to rebuild a burnt down abbey with no money. So, bones of a big bloke and his smaller missus turn up under a mystical cross, and before you can say your name backwards, Glastonbury became the most important site in the UK, and some would say second only to Rome. Well, that really was true, and King Arthur was buried. Glastonbury is the Isle of Avalon. The Holy Grail exists, and the Round Table is real, and the Easter Bunny is true, and there really is a Santa Claus. What do you think?
Well, thank you for joining me here today at Glastonbury Abbey. I don't know if it's true or not. What do you think? Is King Arthur really buried here, or was it just something to bring in the tourists of the day, or the pilgrims? Who knows? But if you're in Glastonbury, why don't you come to the Abbey and have a look for yourself and see what you think. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, whenever that is. Bye bye.